Our knowledge from research tells us that violence is not just peaking, it is a constant reality. It's a constant threat and a malice. It happens in countries of the North and of the South. Studies estimate that up to 7 in 10 women across the globe report having experienced physical or sexual violence at some point in their lifetime. Women in workplaces and men around the world are afraid to speak up. That is not right. That must stop. It really hampers efforts to get remediation for the victims, to punish the perpetrators, and to give strong social policy messages to societies at large, even beyond the workplace. Our message in the ILO is that this is a primary human rights issue, but there is also a strong business case that needs to be made for eliminating violence against women and men. So we're all here today because we want to stop violence at work, whether it's verbal, physical, psychological, mobbing, bullying, sexual harassment. This gives us an opportunity to hear about the good work of our ILO constituents in both prevention but also in remedial work.
And I think that we all recognise that this struggle for equality, for safety, for respect, for security continues today, and it continues across the globe, wherever we come from. The challenges may assume different forms, some open, some less open, but as Jane has reminded us at the beginning of our meeting this morning, the job is certainly not finished. And of the various and worrying manifestations of sex discrimination which remain to be eliminated, we would all agree, I am sure, that gender-based violence is exceptionally dehumanizing, pervasive, and oppressive. And so putting an end to gender-based violence at work seems to me to be integral to the ILO's objective of promoting decent work for all women and men in conditions of freedom, equity, security, and human dignity. Violence in the world of work is deeply injurious to women and to men as well. And there are obvious consequences for their families, societies, and communities. This is a human rights issue, as well as a health, education, legal, and socio-economic challenge. Women are often particularly vulnerable to violence, whether because of the nature of their jobs or their overall status in society. Now, I have no doubts that we are all united by the compelling moral imperative to put an end to gender-based violence. There is still no explicit international human rights treaty prohibition on violence against women, and the issue still remains regrettably poorly defined and understood under international human rights law, and often in labour and industrial relations matters too. Friends, at a time when ending violence against women and girls has taken centre stage in the international media and is high on the political agenda of many countries, it really is important to make progress, significant progress, concrete progress. And I do hope that this tripartite discussion will allow good practices in the world of work to be shared and to give us all further impetus, further commitment to action to stop violence at work.
The workplace is a microcosm of society, shaped by the prevailing norms and highlighting our particular positions and prospects in life. Where we have opportunity, respect, and equality, the workplace is often the focus for the realization of our important ambitions, a place where we can improve ourselves, a place we can make good or realize the lives of our choices. Where the prevailing environment is hostile, however, the workplace is very different. It is much more likely to remind us and make clear the inaccessibility of opportunities, the inaccessibility of our own ambitions and aspirations. Without the protection and fulfillment provided by family and other close social networks, the workplace magnifies frustrations, perhaps boredom, and certainly the hazards that characterize the lives of people experiencing disempowerment, discrimination, and limitations. Women may experience violence at work, or having started and then ended work in darkness, or not earning enough to afford the luxury of a bus fare, they are exposed to danger on the way to and from home. Marketeers and vendors risk abuse from officials in order to secure access to a place to conduct their trade legally, or perhaps from police in the event that they trade in locations deemed illegal. Domestic workers report regular abuse in the form of bullying, humiliation, sexual harassment, and assault. And girls and young women are often preferred in these jobs as they're deemed less likely to complain. In the informal sector too, women are vulnerable to sexual harassment and abuse, sometimes starting at the stage of recruitment and continuing to affect progress throughout working life. If gender inequality in homes and in the workplace are mutually reinforcing, addressing discrimination and violence at work offers an important opportunity to initiate much broader social change. Rather than being a platform for the reproduction of social inequalities, change in the workplace offers an accessible and an effective means of reversing both traditional and new forms of gender inequalities.
Gender-based violence jeopardizes women's freedom to participate in the social, economic, and political life of their communities and marginalizes them from the processes that shape their lives. It is, as the ILO has noted, a health issue, an education issue, a legal and socioeconomic problem, and throughout the world it is increasingly recognized as a significant workplace issue. It's a grim fact that in the United States, an average of 4 to 5 women are murdered by their husbands or boyfriends every day. Women experience 2 million injuries from intimate partner violence each year. And as the advocacy group Futures Without Violence has noted, domestic violence doesn't stay home when its victims go to work. Spouses, boyfriends, and ex-boyfriends were responsible for the on-the-job deaths of 321 women from 1997 to 2009. Nearly 33% of women killed in U.S. workplaces during that period were killed by intimate partners.
How do we combat violence in the workplace? We recognize that as people share space in the workplace, there may be the occasion where tension, anger, lack of control can erupt into violence in the workplace. There is that risk, and that can exist in the workplace. As with other risks that attend the workplace, the risk of violence has to be analyzed, scoped, mitigated, or managed, or a combination. Our decent work agenda, which we strive to maintain, our health and safety at work, the employer-employee relationship, the human rights, the business sustainability, the productivity issues, the employment, wealth creation, national development, all of these are wrapped within the need to address carefully and regularly the whole matter of eliminating violence at the workplace.
I think it's very important to address GBV in the workplace, for two reasons. First of all, it is a moral and a human rights issue that without bodily integrity, safety and security, our access to diverse other human rights and diverse other opportunities are clearly completely compromised. And secondly, there's also, as the Director-General said in this morning's session, a clear business case where violence against women in the workplace undermines productivity, undermines solidarity in the workplace, it undermines the performance that women can realise, and hence undermines the effectiveness of the work that they do and the overall work of the organisation or the business or sector that they work in. In Zambia, we have a range of different activities that will help to address violence against women in the workplace. But the important thing to note is that 90% of women work in the informal sector, so that they are outside of some of the most obvious and perhaps most effective strategies for doing that. So what we have to do is to work very broadly on social education against domestic violence, gender violence of all sorts, violence against children, which is very common, and to address violence in the society at large.